Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to ombre dye a pair of silk pants, and in part 2 of this video I'm going to show you how I achieved this special pleating effect in the same pair of pants. So let's get into the first part of this tutorial. If you're going to be dyeing some fabric today, you need to make sure you've got some equipment that you're not going to use for cooking in the future. You're going to need a stainless steel saucepan, a pair of metal tongs, some measuring spoons, an old towel. You'll need the dyes that you're going to be using today. I'm using Rit, but you can use whatever brand you like, and no, this video is not sponsored. You'll need a bowl of clean water. And if you're also dyeing silk today, you're going to need some white vinegar. If you're dyeing cotton, however, use salt instead. You'll also need a little bit of dishwashing soap. And of course, it's always a good idea to cover your clothes with an apron. I would also advise wearing gloves, but I didn't have any, so now I have blue fingers. You can apply these same techniques to ready-made pieces of clothing, or you can dye the fabric before you make them into a garment. Just remember, if you're dyeing a garment that's already been made, the thread that's usually used is polyester, and it won't dye if you're using dyes for cotton and natural fibers. But with the garment I'm dyeing today, I made sure to stitch it up with cotton thread, which will dye the same color as the rest of the garment. So to start, you're just going to take your pre-made garment or piece of fabric and totally submerge it in that bowl of clean water. What this does is not only make the colour spread really evenly over the fibres, it also stops there being that line that you see in watercolour painting where you can tell the edge of the water was and the colour gathers at the edge. It'll also just make the transition between the two colours really smooth. Now you can mix in your colours. I'm using the Rit dyes teal and Kelly green to achieve a minty green colour. If you're unsure how to get the colour you'd like, Rit actually has a guide on how to mix their colours so that you can achieve over 500 different shades. I'll leave a link in the description. Now we're just going to measure out half a cup of vinegar and add it to the dye. Again, if you're using cotton, you'd replace this with half a cup of salt. Turn your element onto high and start heating up the pot, and then turn it down to medium-low. Test your colour with your scraps of fabric. If it's still not quite right, you can tweak it, and then once you're happy, you need to just add a drop of dishwashing detergent. This is just going to break up the surface tension and make it easier for the water molecules to get around the fabric fibres. Test your final colour once more, and when you're happy, you're ready to put in your garment or piece of fabric. The part of the clothing or the fabric that's in the dye the longest is going to be the darkest. Now, I actually ended up dyeing this part of the pants darker than I had wanted to, so all I did was went back with another product called Rit Color Remover. Now, Rit Color Remover is a really great tool to use because you can't use chlorine bleaches on silk, it just destroys the fibres. But Rit Color Remover is a special combination of different chemicals that actually helps get the colouring out without ruining the garment itself. You can use it to strip something of all of its colour or some of its colour and just make it a lighter shade, but it's really great to take things back if you're going to then go in and dye them a second time. When you've finished dyeing your piece the first colour, you want to take it out and rinse it in warm water. So like I said, I did go back with that Rit Color Remover, so they're not this colour anymore, and then I just went and dyed them once more with a really light wash of colour so that I ended up with this light minty green colour. And then I just put them in my washing machine on a rinse cycle to get out all that colour residue ready for my next colour. Okay, so I've just taken these out of the wash. They're still a little bit damp, but we can see the final colour that the bottom of these pants are going to be. So now we're going to go and dye the other half of these pants a royal blue colour. So basically you're going to follow the same steps as before with your second colour. Now I'm using quite a small saucepan because I want to achieve that marbling effect, but if you want a more even colour, you need to use a larger saucepan with a larger amount of water. Put the garment on another rinse cycle in your washing machine. Take it out and give it a look over. I decided that I wasn't quite happy with the transition colour in the middle of my pants, so I just went back in with a third colour, which was basically a mix of the first two colours I used. Then I just dipped the middle part of my pants in and out of this colour so that the transition was really smooth. Give the garment one more rinse in the washing machine and then they're done. That's how I ombre dyed this pair of silk pants. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more fashion related DIYs. I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial and I'll see you in my next one.